Manresa Castle in Port Townsend, Washington is one of the most haunted hotels in the Pacific Northwest. The castle was built in 1892 by Charles and Kate Eisenbice. Charles was a businessman in Port Townsend and eventually served as the town's first mayor. The home, originally called Eisenbice Castle, was the largest private residence ever built in Port Townsend. The beautiful craftsmanship was modeled after the castles in the Eisenbice's native Prussia. In the 1920s, an attorney purchased the castle and made it into a retreat for nuns. Later, it became a training college for Jesuits. The Jesuits named the house Manresa Hall after a religiously relevant town in Spain. It was during this period that a monk hung himself in the attic turret room. In 1968, the castle was turned into a hotel and given the name Manresa Castle, a combination of Eisenbice Castle and Manresa Hall. Today, the hotel is reportedly haunted by at least two entities. The first is a suicidal monk who dwells in the turret room where he hung himself. The second is a young woman with a tragic story. The woman received word that her husband was killed during the war. She quickly fell in love with another man and became pregnant. Lo and behold, news came that her husband hadn't died after all. She was so distraught that she threw herself out of a castle window. Hotel rooms 302, 304, and 306 have paranormal activity, as does the cafe where witnesses report seeing glasses move on their own and spontaneously explode. The TV show Ghost Adventures investigated Manresa Castle. It's an entertaining show, and it gives insight to the hauntings as well as a good look at the beautiful castle. You should definitely watch it. It's Ghost Adventures, Season 11, Episode 3. For my daughter Morgan's birthday a few years ago, my parents rented two of the haunted rooms, and let me tell you, it was a birthday to remember. After checking in, we went exploring. The turret room where the monk hung himself was open, and we walked through and took pictures. We learned later that the door should have been locked and the room was strictly off limits to the general public. We tried to sneak back in later for another look, and it had indeed been locked. My dad and my husband spent the majority of the evening in the hotel bar, while my mom, the kids, and I played games at the seance table in our suite, located directly beneath the turret room. It wasn't until late in the evening, way after the men had returned and gone to sleep, that the activity started. Above us, we could hear footsteps off and on. The floor creaked, the lights dimmed and returned to normal. Again and again, we heard a very loud bang, like someone hitting a wall in the next room. The only person in that room was my husband, who was by that time snoring very loudly. The scariest thing of all was the sound of a chair being dragged across the floor above us, back and forth, very slowly. We checked the door to the turret room and it was still locked. There was no one up there. But something was up there. Normally, we are all night owls, but we became uncharacteristically drowsy. My son set up the time-lapse on his iPhone before he crawled into bed. The girls fell asleep quickly. I went to the side bedroom and joined my snoring husband. The temperature in the bedroom was considerably lower than the sitting area. I closed my eyes and another loud bang sounded on the wall. I felt a presence in the room. I closed my eyes and made a conscious decision not to open them. In the morning, we enjoyed a delicious breakfast in the hotel cafe and discussed the night's activities. My son's iPhone had malfunctioned and didn't record a thing. We are all anxious to return to Manresa Castle for another adventure.
First, set out all your ingredients. Next, mix together flour, sugar, and the spices. Then, add the honey, the oil, and the eggs. Beat well until the mixture is smooth. Dissolve the baking soda into the orange juice. Add that to the flour mixture. After the walnuts are chopped, add them to the mixture as well. When the batter looks like this, then pour it into a greased baking dish. Bake at 325 for 1 hour. Cool the cake completely. When it's cooled, wrap it in foil and let it sit for 1 week before eating.